Welcome back to Socktown. I'm Sock's Way Up. Today we'll be focused on extending our freeway system. Our city is starting to expand and the traffic is going to be a problem soon, so we got to get that going. Before we jump into that, let's take a look at some stuff I did off camera. I expanded the park a little bit, started doing a little detail work, but it was just to get some ideas of where I want to go with it. That's definitely not the final product there. Also, one of the cool things that we added were the fence, or the gates, or fences, yeah, the fences. Definitely required on every city park that I build is a barrier to prevent, the people from coming in for free. We added another shopping district. This one goes, it's a little different, so I didn't want them to look the same, but we have a nice path in the middle for people to walk. I gotta fix that area a little bit. As you can kind of see, I couldn't shut off the game. After I finished the last episode, I just kept going. And I decided to build this out a little bit more before we got into the next one. I finished this area out here. I like the way it turned out. The only thing that's left is some detailing that we got to do, add some trees, add some color, make it finished. But yeah, it's coming around pretty good, I think. Our industry area, there's no demand. I can't figure out what's going on with that. I'm trying to figure out if it's the realistic population mod, but we haven't had to expand since the first episode there, and that's pretty unusual to me. I did a little checking to see, unemployment's at 3%. That's perfectly fine at this point. So it's not that we don't have enough employees to fill jobs, so there's no demand. I gotta figure that out. I don't know what's going on. But also, we moved our sewage way to the end of the map, along with our water pumps, and we also have a new area for our electrical power area where we moved our windmills. Moved them pretty far away from the city. I like it up there on those mountains. It looks pretty real. Also, you can see we got all 81 tiles open. I decided to do that, and the way you do that is you go into options, 81 tiles if you have the mod installed, and you just hit unlock all the tiles for free. You still play with the milestones, so we still unlock things as we go, but we don't have to be limited to building in a single tile or the 2 tiles that we had unlocked at that point. So now we can build a little city anywhere. We can add a little town up here, over here, move down over there, a little bit of a town. But yeah, you get the idea. So now we're transitioning into the topic of today's video. We use a good mixture of mods in this episode. And if you're a fan of vanilla, this isn't going to be the episode for you. We are extending this freeway, like I said. I want it raised up. I mentioned that in the first episode, that I want an elevated loop here, freeway system, that's going to wrap around this main area of the city. And to do that, I wanted to just start with side by side 2 nodes that were elevated, and then we're going to use the parallel road tool. So you can do mix match roads. In this situation, we're using the same roads next to each other. When you're connecting to existing roads, it's hard to line them up sometimes. So I tried 31 as the distance apart. It was off by maybe 1 tick. So we went up to 32, tried it again, and that lined up pretty good. Definitely good enough for what we're doing. So then we back it out and we connect it, and I made some mistakes there. So we kind of started over because I forgot to disable the mod when I went to go fix some roads, and you saw what happened. So we back this out, we get an idea of what we're doing. We set it to 33 because we had a brain fart, but then we remembered it's 32. So we're gonna get going, 10 out. We're gonna raise it up to 9, and then we're gonna do our big extension. And you can already see that's a lot faster than building each road individually. I made the mistake again. I caught it this time, and we were able to fix the road. So this next part was the challenging one of this extension. At first, I didn't want to go into the river, but after I laid it down, I thought it kind of looked neat. But you can see the height of these 2 sides of the freeway didn't turn out exactly like we want. So that's where we're going to use the next mod that we're using today, which is Move It. So we're going to try to do some advanced things with Move It. I noticed that the mod absolutely changed since the last time I used it, so I was learning all over again. So you can see getting these 2 different sides of the freeway identical to each other is a little bit of a challenge, and it takes some time. And honestly, I could have worked on this for hours. I tried to get it done as quick as I could and make it look nice. And actually, after I was done recording this session, I went back and made it look even better. I relearned Move It a little bit better than I used it in this video, and look forward to that in the next episode. I'm going to show that right away at the beginning. But here we're trying to do the object evening out the road with a specific object. I couldn't figure out how to do it in Move It. I have figured it out since then, and I'm going to show you guys how in the next episode. But at the time of recording this, I settled for the slope option, which actually looks pretty nice. It gives you a nice consistent slope between all of the nodes that you have selected at the same time. You know, you hold down Control, you click multiple sections of the road, and then all of those nodes will be affected by clicking on the slope object. And it gives it a nice even slope. One thing also, a nice tip to know, I could have selected both sides of the freeway at the same time, and they would have sloped with each other respectively. That's an advanced tip that you guys could try yourself. Move It's awesome. I don't know how anyone plays this game without Move It. I would say that's the #1 mod that I would recommend. #2 would be Traffic Manager mod, even though I haven't used it much yet in this city. But yeah, you can see there's some of the challenges because I couldn't figure out the height adjustment and Move It. I would manually move some things up the height that I wanted it at the peak, and then I would use the slope object option to then slope it back down to the flat area and just work out some of the problems along the way. But yeah, like when I first played City Skylines, I hated making freeways. I hated making large stretches of road at once because of things in the vanilla game that aren't satisfying to me. But Move It makes it much more enjoyable, easier to fix. Again, especially when you know how to use it. Those of you who aren't familiar with this view in City Skylines, it's another mod, CSL map view. You can export it, you can play around with it, and it's a lot more powerful than what I'm going to show you today. But you can see there's a little section there that's not actually highway. That's why it's not yellow. But the line I'm drawing with my cursor there, that's where I want a main road to go across. We potentially can have 3 separate freeway exits on those 3 different freeways and make that a big main road for this new area we're going to build. But the reason I open this view is so I can kind of see it top down without the buildings, without any obstructions, to give me a more blueprint idea of what to go with it. And you can see the loop looks good. It looks like it came with the map, in my opinion. So back to building, you can see I got it all elevated. I extended the elevation of the freeway to the existing on-ramp or transition, and it came out good. There's some tweaks I want to do. I started doing a little bit of traffic management here. Using Traffic Manager mod, I wanted to make sure that cars aren't switching lanes on this transition. I'll do a lot more of this later on. This is really not a busy part of the freeway yet, but it's kind of future-proofing. These are decisions that are tough here. We probably should have let green go into both lanes on there as well. But if we see traffic problems later on, we can always adjust that. I personally don't strive for perfect traffic. I like seeing cars have to stop at stop signs and have a little bit of a backup, and there be a couple cars on an off-ramp at the same time. So we're going to keep ours realistic that way. We're not going to stress about the traffic flow being at 90%. I think right now we're at like 85, but it'll get worse. It definitely will get worse as we get more populated, and especially when we get the high dense areas going. I keep traffic in mind for sure when I'm building, but I don't stress about it because I really feel like when you have a city that flows like 95% traffic, it's not realistic. I've never seen that in a large city, especially when you start getting into, you know, the high density, the downtown areas. There's going to be traffic. It's going to take people a little bit to get to and from places. They're going to have to deal with it, and they're going to be fine with it because that's part of life, in my opinion, at least. And here we do check the traffic. It's at 88%, pretty good. Again, I'm not going to stress about it. I just kept an eye on it just to make sure it's not like, you know, dropping down to 15% or something like that. We got one trouble area. Not going to be able to really do anything about that because there's not going to be any freeway access on except for that one original off-ramp. There might be one for the other side of the neighborhood, but definitely not that trouble area. That's going to have traffic long term. Again, I'm not going to stress about it. But, whoa, what is this option? I don't know. I don't know if that's vanilla or not, but yeah. Anyways, that will do it for today's episode of Socktown. Hope you like the additions we made to the city. Hope you like the freeway. Next episode, we're going to start that industry area with the farm. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.